Hey everyone, live for the Infinite Light Festival. Welcome. My topic tonight is the abundance of blessings, or the blessings of abundance. And the reason why I chose this title for tonight has everything to do with the time we're in. We are in a time that is right before Rosh Hashanah, the new year, and we're also in a time of ending a year, and they come together. There's this idea that every month we bring together two sets of time. We bring a sun calendar time and a moon calendar time together. So the sun calendar time in Judaism is most personified by Shabbat, that the year in the solar calendar is 365, and it's split up into 7 days of the week, and the seventh day of each week is Shabbat. So Shabbat is the highlight of the solar calendar. Whereas the lunar calendar, or the moon calendar, is 29 and a half days. And it's essentially, for us, the cycle calendar as it relates to being beyond the solar system, or beyond the steady hand of the sunrise and sunsets. We have the infinite reflection of the moon that we celebrate. And it's primarily a calendar for our holidays. Each month we have Rosh Chodesh. We celebrate the holiday of the month as the new month and the new energy. And then we have the holiday essentially of each month. Even the months that don't have a holiday have special occasions, but they fit in within the calendar of the lunar calendar or the moon cycle. So each month, as we prepare for the moon cycle, which is different than the sun will come and the sun will rise and set exactly the same. But since the moon is different in variations, so we do something called the blessing of Rosh Chodesh. We bless the new moon. So we're going to talk a little bit about what is this blessing and how that contributes to abundance. Because the year we're coming into is going to be the year 5783. Now the key here is the 5783, 3 in the cycle of 8. So 8 is the 80s of the 5700s. And so far in Hebrew, the 8 is represented by the letter Pei. Pei has been a tough decade. We started off essentially thinking everything was going to be great. I was giving a Rosh Hashanah sermon and talking about how the 80s are going to be fantastic because 8 is transcendence. It's one beyond 7 nature, and one beyond the solar cycle of 7. In the moon cycle, becoming the reflectors of infinite capacity and light. And yet so far it's been a rough start to the decade. The first couple of years were essentially connected to a pandemic and connect to restraints and difficulties. So when we come to the third year of this decade, or 5783, it's worth thinking about the energy of the year. And I, once again, will like to throw in my hat for what I think the year will bring. One way or the other, I want it to be in a revealed state. So what is Gimel? What is this third year in the decade of post-solar cycle, and this moon cycle, and this transcendent space of transcending ourselves and seeing ourselves as reflective of infinite light? So the 3 in the Hebrew letters, Gimel, you could, when you just say the word Gimel, Gamal, it's a camel. A camel is filled with water, not just for its satiation, for its drink, but also for abundance, for many other occasions that it's going to need water to draw from. And it's built into them, of course, for their climate. In the same way, we have this type of ability that we have storage within us for our climate, for whatever our life will bring. So to talk about blessings and abundance, we have to talk about the time we're in, the year we're in, and a little bit about what blessing is and what abundance is. So let's begin with the first thought that I have was that Taf Shin Pei Gimel, or 5783, can be an acronym for Tehei Shnas. This should be the year of Parnasa Gadola, an abundance of wealth, or an abundance period of success with your handiwork. Parnasa represents your handiwork, what you do in this world, and Gadola, to be big or large amounts, is personified by the idea of chesed. Our forefather Abraham, who spent his life being the personification of kindness or shearing or expansion, which are all terms of the ability to give, to expand myself, to include others. So he coined the word gadol, or large, or big, as an expression of divine kindness. So anytime in Judaism you say you should have something big, gadol, you're talking about God's ability to expand beyond what's there, which is the personification of kindness, to have more than there is. So this year is an acronym for a year to have more than you have currently, to expand beyond. Now each month and this lunar cycle, we bless the lunar cycle. Now some things we don't feel the need to bless. For example, when we talk about things that are holy, we don't think of things that are holy or good unto themselves as needing something more. We think of them in terms of like satiation with what they have. So that's not called a blessing, that's called alignment, a connection to something higher than itself and being satiated by that connection. Whereas a blessing is me drawing something in. It's me accessing energy that's currently not with me and drawing it towards me. The word bracha means to draw in. So every time we make a blessing in Judaism, we're not subjecting ourselves to dogma. What we're saying is that we all have associated with us whatever we're going to need our whole life. We all have everything we're going to need our whole entire life. But nevertheless, I need to create a vessel, and by which I channel that energy so I can contain it. If you can't contain what you get, then oftentimes you struggle to hold on to it. So we spend the time, this month that we're in, this month of Elul, has been a month where we build vessels. And building vessels come in different forms. One of the ways to build vessels is to create a space by which to see yourself as a conduit for blessings or for energy. When you see yourself as a vessel, like I am a receptacle and I am here to receive what the Hashem or the world, divine light, has to give me, now I've created myself a vessel for what's happening. This is a beautiful concept to think about yourself this whole entire year, as you could talk about yourself as a giver and an influencer, but first it has to begin from a receiver, because what do you have to give? What do you contribute to the world? How do you influence if you don't sustain and you don't fill yourself? So the concept that we're trying to get to here is that when it comes to the new month, which happens to represent the holiday of Rosh Hashanah, which we call the head of the year, essentially our New Year's, although its main head of the year represents the central nervous system, or the way we're going to establish ourselves in the upcoming year. Nevertheless, the blessing of this month is actually not made. There's 12 months in our year. 11 of the months we bless the upcoming month, as if to say we are receiving the energy that's going to come to us in the month to come, that we are creating a receptacle for ourselves in order to receive the energy of the new month. We could be the moon. We could receive the light and be reflective of it. We could live in that cycle, in that lunar cycle that we've committed to as Jews, and that has led us during all of our difficult times and all of our great times, and shown us our festivals and shown us our ability to reflect the light and to be a receiver for it. And yet the ultimate month of the year coming up, which is all about Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, and setting the tone for the year, this is not a month that we bless. Our mystics tell us the reason that we don't bless it is because this is the month that God blesses. What does it mean that God blesses us? God gives us the resources to have an amazing year. That although we need to create a receptacle, a vessel for us to have the energy in order to go out and influence and to live our life, nevertheless, even our ability to create a vessel has to be given to us. People need to have the chance and the opportunity to create a vessel out of their existence in order to live with what we're going to call abundance. So in order to do that, there has to be some type of vessel that held your energy first. We call that the womb, essentially. That the womb is the vessel that holds me as light. And then when I come to the world, I am now the vessel, and I have to see myself as a womb that also is harnessing light and goodness to give to the world around me. So with this definition of the new year coming in, and how the blessing doesn't come from us necessarily drawing in the new energy, but creating the vessel for the new energy to come in, and that we've been giving the divine ability to create this vessel because we ourselves have come from a womb when we were energy, that means that we see within ourselves this incredible ability to make light and vessels as a primary focus of how I see this world. When I look at this world, I'm essentially seeing light and vessels, and I am either the vessel or I'm the light. And in order to do this in a way that's not overwhelming, but it's in a way of satiation, or tonight's word, abundance, that's where this conversation is really going to go to right now. In describing the material world, we have three general words for this. They are in Hebrew, olam, shana, and nefesh. Olam means the world, and shana means time or years, and nefesh means spirit, soul, which means that all material matter, all physicality, has this trifecta of forces that come together in order for it to exist. It has the physical space that it exists. Everything takes up space, right? Even your thoughts take up space. You don't do two thoughts at once. So you have a form of taking up space in the physical world. And then you have time. You're bound to a certain level of time in this world. And then, of course, you have the spirit or the animation, or maybe a way for this discussion to say it is the individuality of everything. What is the spirit and the soul, if not the individual sense behind each thing, right? Everything in this world, when you look at it, it has a kind of like homogeneous first look. People look kind of the same. Animals kind of all look to fit in the same. Many things look the same. But in reality, it doesn't even take a microscope to take a look and realize that everything is totally different. And everything has total receiving and giving abilities, and they're totally different from one another. Maybe subtly, but nevertheless, they have that true individuality. And that's what we call ultimately soul or spirit, is the individual sense within everything that exists. So these three ideas, olam, shana, and nefesh, are essentially central to understanding what it means that our world is the way it is. Because on the one hand, you can make a case that the world works in total synchronicity. Everything is exactly the way it's supposed to be. Everything moves in harmony, and everything is there. There's abundance. There's exact amount for everything that's needed to exist and to totally manifest what it needs out of its life. But then there's another version where it's very much not the case, where it's survival of the fittest, and there's a constant rage and pulsation to go out and do whatever you got to do to survive, which, of course, for those who struggle with that, creates depression or anxiety. So it's worth sometimes breaking down what these three elements that you're confronting are in order to peer through the concealment. Take, for example, olam. Olam means world, but olam can also mean concealment. The Kabbalists use the word helem, which is essentially hey olam, to represent everything that is concealed or not noticeable to the naked eye. In other words, you have to contemplate, think about, and dissect it in order to understand the parts that make up the sum total of what you're trying to discover. So olam, although it means world, it also means concealment, which means that our world has this amazing way to conceal what's beneath the surface. So olam, especially with this new term of concealment, has a deeper layer. And Kabbalah talks about how olam, the concealment, is actually that the olam itself doesn't reveal where its energy is coming from. So we said, like, you at some point were an energy in a vessel. So where did your energy come from? You'll trace it back to your parents and to the function of the bodies to create your light, to bring it together, to create that nucleus of power that turns into eventually your vessel. So that means all light is the origin of vessels. Even a vessel, for it to become, first needed energy to come together for it to become this material vessel that we are describing. So that means that the light is really at the source. So where is the light from? Well, the light is less understood because the light is infinite. It represents not light, but energy, the ability for there to be energy to create everything in this world. So olam has this way for, on the one hand, we see this world and we see what we continue to believe is the energy in vessels. And by believe, meaning that we're constantly deepening our ability to understand it and deepening our ability to create and develop a harmonious state. So olam has also the concealment where we don't necessarily see what originated it, what influences it, what compels it to be what it is. And this is why in Kabbalah it says there are four worlds, and they are stages of energy as it compels the next world to exist. So world has both the concealed state and a revealed state. Same as with time. Time's revealed state, on the one hand, is a force of limited but non-stop measurements of elapsed reality. When you have measurements of elapsed reality, you call that time. Like, how do I measure how long something takes or how long ago something happened? I use time as the measurement tool. So it's a form of essentially mathematical counting to construct the experiences you're going through. But Shana, or time, especially according to the way we understand God's creation of the world, time is not a measurement of elapsed moment, but an actual creation itself. It is a measurement. That's probably why we consider that it's not so crazy to think that time moves in different speeds based on different space that you occupy, because time is not a measurement tool. Time itself is an energy. I could even go a little further. I think very deeply about how, for Jewish people, especially the last 2,000 years, our main occupation with our life has not been with space. It has been with time. And that includes that we've moved a lot, we've struggled to maintain our institutions, we've been through 2,000 years of essential movement and challenges with space. But nevertheless, time-wise, we've had an incredible ability to maximize our time. And maximizing your time means essentially being able to reach your goals and spend your time wisely and having enough time to accomplish all the things that your mind wants to do and your body lets you do. So time is this part of Judaism that we've attempted to, might I say, conquer, to turn time into a vehicle for expressing a lot more than just the elapsed moment, but the infinite possibility within being present. So time has this concealment. On the one hand, it's just a measurement, but on the other hand, is revealed as a measurement, but it's concealed as actually a nucleus that when you split it apart, you essentially tap into the fibers of present creation happening in the moment. So this present creation happening, or the way we see time, is very much why we converge with these two calendars of solar and lunar, which have different energies, showing us how that when time aligns with the time and space and reality that I'm in right now, I have an infinite capacity to transcend whatever is holding me back and open me up to the possibility of presence and future. So then you have nefesh, or spirit, which we were translating as the individual source behind everything, or individuality. And the soul has, of course, it's a little more on the concealed sign, the revealed sign, because it's very hard to see the animation that it contributes to the individual level. Even sometimes for ourselves, we struggle with that ability. But nevertheless, anytime you have an incredible moment of self-worth or dignity, you experience a revealed version of soul. And that's why we have in Judaism many of our prayers and many of our holidays are latent with rituals that are about soul. Take, for example, Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur has 5 services reflecting the 5 levels of soul, or the 5 layers that you can go within. So the lowest layer, what we call, material consciousness that we experience, or the level of nefesh, it has its revealed side, which we said was individuality, or spirit, or simply being alive in the material sense of the world. I know that person's alive, they have spirit, but then there's the concealed part, which is my inner self-worth and my dignity, which needs to come out as I live my life. So now that we know that this is the convergence of the time we're in, that renewal of the year, or the head of the year, we have to think about what the year is and what the time is and what space we're in order to get that. After all, Rosh Hashanah is laden with food, so that means it's physical, it's about olam, and it's also about time, the time of the year, the new head of the year, and it's also about nefesh, it's also about spirit, it's also about the ability to harness my individual self-worth and my individuality as it relates to the life I'm living and the creator and this relationship I'm in. So using these ideas as a foundation, we can discuss a little more what blessing is and what abundance is. See, blessings are that since I was fashioned through energy and vessels, that also means that I have everything I need in order to exist. Meaning, for a light and a vessel to be harmonious, they need to go to the same amount. The simplest analogy would mean just a vessel of water. When you have too little, it's not full, and when you have more than you need, it overflows. But in reality, the vessel only has a certain amount of energy that could be there. But the thing is, since we operate on these three levels of Olam, Shana, and Nefesh, that means that our revealed vessel doesn't tell the whole story of our vessel. And the revealed energy that we have doesn't tell the whole story of the energy. And that's where blessings come in. Blessings are an idea that you have a much larger vessel and receptacle of what type of existence you are. You come from a larger chain than just yourself here, and you're capable of producing something larger than your ability to imagine it. So you are a much larger vessel than your life that you're living in the current present moment. But it's hard to fathom the full spectrum of your vessel. And the same goes to your energy and what animates you and what you have in store for your life. There's a lot more than what you perceive to be right there. So that means your vessel is larger and so is your energy larger. Now it comes to take that and to put it in a revealed state. Comes Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, it's not a day for forgiveness. It's not a day to ask God for money. What it is, can I get more of my energy and vessel revealed to me? Can I do things that are building out my vessel in this material world? Can I make revealed what is concealed to me? That is the description that we're using tonight and that we use on Rosh Hashanah to essentially create. Even the services themselves on Rosh Hashanah are somewhat concealed. We know that they're there and we see the English meaning to the words, but what created them, what life was infused to them, what they meant in the contemporary moments that they were created are somewhat beyond us. No matter how much research you do, it's very hard to put yourself in the shoes of the people. Would I have written this today in order to express myself? So that means that the services themselves are there to be a container for a larger amount of energy than I can possibly fathom right now in the moment. So a blessing is to draw in energy into my vessel. So in order to draw in abundance, I need to think of my vessel as larger than what it is right now. Although I have this job or I have this experience in my life or this home, nevertheless, that is not the sum total of my vessel. My vessel is even larger than that. And although I'm in this world and the world has full of fears that there could be that the world is eating itself and we're not treating it correctly, we also need to remember that hope comes from seeing that the world is a lot larger vessel than just what we see it to be. And then the blessing is to draw in the energy and to bring it closer to myself. And how does one draw in energy? What does it mean, that bracha? Bracha means to actually believe and see that you are a conduit for blessings, that you are actually worthy of success. So much so that when it comes to this new month, we don't even make the blessing of the new month because we get to a place that's beyond blessing. What's beyond blessing? So you have blessing as it relates to I pray for a blessing. In other words, I use words or thoughts or to elicit blessing. But then there's the blessing itself, beyond words. In other words, it's being channeled. There's a flow happening to you. And that flow is an open portal for goodness to come into your life. And when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, the reason why we don't bless the new month is because we are what getting is called Shefa, influence. We are in a state of vessel. This new moon of Elul was all about my initiation, creating my vessel. And after spending the time, even a moment, even in this video for just a second, thinking about myself as a receptacle, I create this ability to be attracted back to me, to draw to me, to blessing to me, divine flow. And this is what happens on Rosh Hashanah. On Rosh Hashanah, with the convergence of Ola, Shana, and Nefesh, time, space, and spirit, or space and energy and individuality, and I allow this to come as a flow to me, I create the ability to be abundant. Because in this world, there are many with abundance. There are many people with abundance. In fact, we're in the most abundant time of our immediate ancestors, certainly. So with this incredible abundance, nevertheless, we don't seem to be enjoying our abundance that much. And our abundance seems to be somewhat liquid. It's hard to, we're trying to find a vessel to approximate what is this that I'm dealing with. Is this, I feel guilty with my abundance, I hear very often. And the truth is that abundance is not a representation of what you need and what you have. Because every one of us, that's not a state of abundance to have a cup and for it to be full. That's the nature of the cup, is for it to be full. The nature of your life is to have what you need. This world is a world that was built out of kindness. That's why it's the first chakra or sphera. It's kindness, it's expansion. It has room for everyone. It's like you never have to have fear that you won't have enough love for somebody, because love is expansive. It grows with everything that you do. And the same is true of what you need. You are built to have everything you need. You're capable of having everything you need. And in fact, the era of Jewish people not having what they need already happened. So we're certainly in an era that we can have what we need. And therefore, abundance is not only something that one should feel like they're undeserving or need to work harder for. And we need to see abundance as the standard. And the way to see abundance as the standard is to see myself as a vessel for blessings. So when it comes to this Rosh Hashanah, when it comes to the time we're in, take a moment to think about this convergence of presence, of being able to see the space you're in and the time you're in and your sense of individuality as a source of inspiring blessings. And then not only you'll have abundance, but you'll have the blessing of your kesi lachem bracha ad bli dai, which means that your cup will be overfilled with blessings and you'll have enough to share your whole entire life. Because the truth is, the concept of abundance means that you were created with a trust that you're going to do the right thing with your abundance. You don't have to make this deal on Rosh Hashanah. God, if you take care of me, I will then go out and take care of the world. That's a given. Abundance is to share. And this next coming year itself, this past year was a Shemitah year, a 7-year. And now we're going into a year of 8, which means we have the year 83, which we said is about this transcendent number of 8 with Gimel, with the ability to have abundance. And it's compounded on it being an 8-year, which represents Raquel, which is a gathering year. And when do we make gatherings? When we have what to share in thought, speech, and thought, speech, and action. Whether it's just I have a good thought to share, or I prepared something to teach, or whether or not I'm simply giving an offering of my abundance to the table in any fashion that it is. So with the year of abundance coming up, and the year of gathering coming up, I wish you all a happy and healthy and sweet new year, where you feel that divine light flowing through you, and you see that sun, that there's going to be consistency, and that moon, the ability to become a vessel and reflective light. And may you have all that your heart's desires. Wishing you much success and abundance in your life. Happy Rosh Hashanah, Chag Sameach. Just take a last moment to thank Erez for putting together the Light of the Infinite Festival. We're super inspired by what you're doing. May you continue to have great success in the festival and in sharing wisdom of so many epic people to the world.